All right, we'll wait just a sec while everybody comes on in. It's kind of good, Jackson.
That sounded flushy.
I hit it on the screws, the center one. Are we live with everyone?
Just waiting for Instagram to load.
Instagram's thinking about it?
It's thinking.
Well, perfect. Well, while Instagram is thinking.
There we go.
Is it going now?
It's going now.
Look, there it goes. Maybe. Maybe not. Boom. Shakalaka.
Ooh.
It's not liking it at all.
Your voice.
Is it going?
It's going.
It is?
It's going.
I don't believe
have
you.
it up on mine.
You do?
Yep.
How come mine doesn't work?
Because I'm the tech junkie.
Yeah, what's going on? Why not?
Refresh your page.
Okay. Whoop. Hey. Something happened. Nope. I really just want this to work. Why won't it work? Nope. See, now I'm just wasting time because this is bugging me.
Look, here, use my phone.
This is just bugging me.
You want my phone?
Can I use your phone?
You can use my phone.
Yeah, I want to see it. Oh, that's cool. Oh, it still does this?
It does. Every once in a while it zooms in on your ass, but...
Yeah, okay. But it just does that. Well, that's no fun. All right. Jackson.
What's crack-a-lackin'?
We're live, dude. We're rocking. Sorry for missing last week. I was down with X Factor, rocking and rolling with them, and a bunch of awesome content that we were able to shoot, which was super freaking fun. So we're back in action this week with a bunch of really cool new questions that came in from you cool cats and you fine folks. So super excited to get rocking with you again. So I guess with that being said, homie, let's jam. J-Bone, give it to me, baby. What's question one?
Into it. So this is from Johan Mercier.
Johan, I just love how hard you butcher these names. I bet you're like, there's no chance you're at least 50% with like getting them right. Maybe high 20s.
Maybe high 20s.
It's not good.
So bad.
It's not good.
It's so bad.
All right, Johan, what's up, dude?
On it.
Excited to answer your question. What's Johan got?
I asked a question last week regarding low point and setting the low point as mentioned in the iron play videos. I think I figured out what they were talking about. What was confusing is they mentioned low point for different clubs. Like I said, the low point is usually at the left shoulder and the club completely in a complete vertical line.
Okay. It's actually not the left shoulder. So let's not do that. Low point is actually more complex than what we like explain on all of our videos on either YouTube or Instagram or X Factor. But instead of getting like way down rabbit holes here, let's take a look at this more from the standpoint of we'll go two big differences here. So we got wedge and we got driver. So let me just kind of get set here. There's driver. And then if I have wedge, where am I going here? Roughly. Okay. So immediately like we see this difference where it's like, okay, this ball versus that ball, which is a massive difference. I mean, they're like 2 feet apart from one another. But first thing to take a look at is we've got like two very different looking golf clubs. Right, so from face on with driver, let's say I'm setting up, boom, right in here, getting ready to just pump. What we're looking to do is, it's always, folks, like the center of mass of your rib cage is what's going to dictate where the low point is in general. Okay, so easiest way to look at this is just where your sternum is at P7. P7 is position 7 impact. Okay, and in the golf swing, what we love to see, the preference is the rib cage moves off the ball a bit. So see how this sways off. As I'm turning, I drop. And as I'm dropping, this will float back forward slightly, then float even more forward as I make this change in direction. We see this out of DJ, Min Woo, where like now the center mass of the rib cage is in front of the pelvis. Now at the strike at 7, we don't see that. We'll see this actually bounce back out where the center of mass of the pelvis works forward and the center of mass of the rib cage moves back. Now, for most folks, you don't need to think about through the hit of like making sure that this gets forward and this gets back. That will absolutely happen because of speed. There's numerous different reasons why this happens. Okay, so without getting too far sidetracked with all that extra, what we're looking for is a little off drop back in here roughly at delivery, so about P5, maybe P5.5. Where is my sternum? Right now, it's right here. So as the club is orbiting and it's working out of my chest and out of my trunk, obviously it's descending, descending, descending. Then it's going to bottom out right underneath my sternum. And so now I get this small ascend into the golf ball. Now, for driver, it depends on everybody, but if we're 2, 3 degrees up on it, that's a really nice dynamic. Just because we've got this concept of spin loft. Spin loft is the difference in the dynamic loft. So the loft that's exposed to the golf ball at the strike, like what that loft is. Not the actual loft of the club at address, but at the strike, what's the loft that's presented to the golf ball as well as the angle of attack. So for driver, if I'm up on it, let's say this is the angle of attack and I'm up on it 2, 3 degrees-ish, and I'm presenting 10 degrees of actual loft, we have a very small window here. See how acute this angle is? So I'm gonna get maximum ball speed that way. For wedge, we really want like a lower ball that is higher spinning, whereas driver is a higher ball that's lower spinning. That's just in general what we want to a certain degree, right? So if I have a wedge now where I want the bottom to be in front of the ball because my AOA, my angle of attack, is steeper, but the loft that's presented looks like this, now my spin loft is much different. So I'm gonna get a lower launching, higher spinning ball. The greater this angle, the more obtuse this angle, the higher the spin rate in the ball is. The lower that angle, the lower the spin rate is. So we want, with driver, a bottom out in front, behind the golf ball, pre-impact, and then it starts to climb slightly. Whereas wedge, hope Tyler doesn't see that. I'm throwing his clubs all over the place. Don't tell him. Okay, where with wedge, I'm going to have the golf club more underneath my center of mass of my ribs, roughly. So I'll be right in here. Okay, so my sternum's hanging here. There's where the golf club is. So the golf ball is actually slightly forward of the center of mass of my ribs at the address position. And the reason for that is because as I'm dropping, I'm going to drop and move the rib cage forward here. Now you'll see how my head, like especially with wedges, it gets almost forward of where I started, slightly. And it'll stay in there as I turn. You'll see this look out of a lot of players on tour where the rib cage actually goes in front of the pelvis and stays slightly in front, especially when compared to driver. When compared to driver, you will always see the rib cage further ahead of the pelvis because we're not throwing as much energy in it. We want to stay dropped in more. It's more turning with the chest here so that now when my sternum is in here at P7 or impact, I'm going to go descend to the ball. It keeps descending until it gets underneath my sternum, and then it'll start to ascend. But again, I want to hit down on that ball because I'm looking to rev it more, and I want the launch to be lower. This whole idea of like, hit down on it to make it go up is BS. You hit down on it to make it go down. You hit up on it to make it go up. It's like easy physics.
Physics, yeah. It's just
Yeah,
physics.
Exactly. Okay, so a lot of this is based on two things. The setup position and where the golf ball is relative to your rib cage based on the shape of the club and what you're looking to do into the ball, number one. And then number two, it's the amount of energy that you're going to have in your rib cage and really just realistically in the entire swing. If I have more energy in this is going to extend earlier, so it doesn't allow the rib cage to move as far forward, which we want in driver. With wedges or shorter irons, we want to stay dropped in for longer. So this is a slower energy here through the hit. So I can have this look through the hit for longer. That's how we're managing AOA or bottom out to influence the golf ball. Hopefully that makes some sense there. Great question though.
Well done. All right, live chat. Steve Pickens said, oh man, did you lose a bet? Where's the beard?
Oh, the beard. Dude, I'm just trying life. Like, kids that are listening to this, don't do this, but your boy is freaking trying things on for size right now. I've got like old man mode going. I'm like growing this thing out. I just bought beard wax.
Oh, you can go all curly
wax.
on it?
I'm gonna try to curl it,
Oh,
but dude, that's
gosh.
probably gonna last like maybe a week. I don't know if I can do that. And I got frickin' tobacco pipe because it looks cool. Like every frickin' old dude that has a tobacco pipe, I'm like, that dude looks happy. So I'm not gonna do it much. This is like, I'll probably do it 5 times in my life. It'll run its course, but I'm gonna have a little mustache diddly going, and I got my pipe on my off days. Again, kids, no, this is not a thing that I'm gonna do all the time. So no, you don't get to do that. But your boy's 37 now. We got midlife stuff going on. This stuff happens.
Fill in the other parts.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
All
right, who we got next?
Let's hop in. We got Casey. Hey team, I just uploaded my video on the community, but wanted to ask here too. When you rotate, does the right shoulder go under or over the ball? Maybe it's just a feeling issue, I'm not sure, during the downswing. Yeah,
you're describing a feeling in a map, which is really cool. Obviously, it's always going to go over the ball because it's over in the elevation, but I think what we're describing is, are we feeling it stay level on top, or are we feeling it go under? Now, no to both is really what I would like you to sense, because the spiral line is such an important fascial line for you to grasp, okay? And let's describe it this way, okay? This is as best as I can frickin' describe this in 3D space. So let's say that I have a tractor here in my armpit, and I have a trailer over here in my right hip. And right now this chain from my tractor to the trailer is kind of slacked. Now, as I move through the hit, this is for through the hit, like unload, like mapping. As I move the tractor away from the trailer, see how all of a sudden the chain becomes taut. But look at the direction that the tractor is pulling. See what happens to my head, see what happens to the center of mass of my ribs, see how this moves forward laterally. Now, at the same time, the tractor is pulling underneath my armpit in that direction. It's running right through here. So as that tractor keeps going, see the direction it pulls me, especially if you're the target now, and I'm going through here, look at how it starts to open me. So now I have rotation happening as well as lateral movement. Now when we're doing that, look at the elevation state of each shoulder. Now the right shoulder doesn't necessarily lower. Right shoulder almost stays tall, but I have lateral bend, center of mass of ribs forward or left for me as a right-handed player, and the lead shoulder elevates. But see this look. It's not this look, it's not this look. This is throwing pattern. Throwing pattern is scap elevation. It goes over, see all this stretch in this spiral line to go over pattern. So like baseball throw, we're here. Throwing a football, same thing. Golf, hockey, baseball, all under spiral pattern this way. But see, if you go, does the trail shoulder, the right shoulder go lower? It's so easy in that map. Whenever I hear that from a player, it's like they just laterally tilt this way. And the issue is if I have lateral bend to my right side and the center of mass of my ribs is also working in right side, it's always L-spine bend. See this like teeter-totter look? So ideally what we have is right side or trail side lateral bend while moving the center of mass of the ribs in the opposite direction. So notice how I go here, center of mass of my ribs goes forward. The pressure of my lead foot spikes because of that. It's higher over here now than it is in my trail side, but I have right lateral bend. That's the mapping, and you'll get all of that, all of it, because you see the spiral line appropriately. So if I do this from here, easy to see. If I move a little bit this way and I keep this moving away, see, as I keep moving, I can just keep showing you this look from wherever I keep motoring. Now I go here, I go here. See, I'm moving this away from this, so it pulls me away from where the golf ball would be as well, because now you're my target. See this pull that way. It's never over and around. I've rotated, but this is an over pattern. This needs to move that way. See how the right hip doesn't invade this space either? So the rib cage keeps moving away from the golf ball appropriately. So now I have all this room to hit in here. That's spiral movement, and hopefully that makes sense with in regard to that question of like what this trail shoulder is doing. It's just reactionary because you're visualizing good spirals.
All right, Mackenzie Newbie. I think you've touched on this before, but how do you like to see the trail leg and foot move through the swing? I tend to get hips over-rotated going back, trail leg too straight, and arm to trail toe too early in the downswing.
an arm to trail to, okay. So what you're experiencing is, and this is the hard thing again about the dead golf swing, because it's so 3D space, because we're rotating, moving laterally, vertical. There's just a lot of stuff going on when we're doing this. Yep. So when that happens, it's because we're shooting the pelvis out lateral. So notice how like my entire trunk, like I don't even have any lateral bend really here. All I'm doing is shoving the pelvis here, shoving the pelvis here. I look like a boat on high seas right here. This is like, you look at this and you're like, ugh, doesn't look like athlete. Now, there's even a pro or two that we work with that experiences this, and this is where like you'll get in trouble because this pelvis just like shoots all over. It's not supportive underneath you. So when you turn, so let's just say I go whoom, so I'm about 90 degrees. So my sagittal plane or my midline and my rib cage is pointing right at the camera away from the target. If I shove this out, see I'm about 90 here, roughly, about 45 here, roughly. So if I laterally shove this, I look like this all of a sudden. So when I do that, see how the trail leg straightens? This goes into more extension because the right hip is gonna climb and work too deep, and then this just teeters in here, like my whole trunk just falls in here. So I got multiple different problems. Because number one, this doesn't play a supportive role underneath me where I can just turn and burn with my chest. It's laterally shoving me around, so now I have no support system down here. And I also, inevitably, okay, this is shout out Luke Brackey. I learned this from Luke. The distance from the golf ball to my rib cage, this is called trunk balance. Okay, and I want to maintain this. If not, maybe move a little bit away from it through the hit so that I have room to shoot my arms. So as soon as here I turn and I shove this out, look at what happens to my rib cage. So I've invaded this space. This is way closer than where I started. So I have to make up for that. And what we'll see every single time is the player shoves their pelvis back out forward to move this away. And now this is, I mean, you're in essence just starting with early extension immediately in your backswing. This is all extension. And then I shove it back out laterally this way to give myself the room to stay away from the ball with my ribs. And then this is just gas. Okay, so what I'd like you to sense is it's almost like we did a video with Milo Lines where we talked about like, I think it's called like squeeze the lemon or something like that. I have no idea. I can't remember what it's called. But
a fruit.
In essence, like if I had a lemon and I just put it right here in my trail hip and I try to drop, I'm trying to squeeze. We're gonna turn in the chest. Notice again how like the hip line, hip axis isn't moving a whole lot. I'm not rotating here in the initial. I'm rotating here in the initial. But as I continue to turn the chest, I'm gonna try to keep that lemon squeezed, like this space right here between the femur and my trunk line. It's easy to stay dropped in here. So now like anytime you drop, you're gonna eliminate lateral sway. Because as soon as you lateral sway here, you're going in extension here, period. Okay, if you stay dropped in, see how now my pelvis, all I'm doing is feeling pressure in my pelvis and my booty just staying dropped so I can motor in here. Just easy to tell, this is athlete, this is not, this is not. Lateral sway here, killer of the golf swing for the most part, Yay.
All right, let's hop into a couple older questions here. All right, this is a good one. We're talking wedges here.
Okay.
In regards to, oh, this is from, I got to get the name, Justin.
What up, Jay? Talking wedges.
In regards to using the bounce with the wedge, is it just a matter of setting up with the face open relative to the target? If so, wouldn't the ball start way right of target line? I'm confused in regards to how the bounce, club face, and lie angle are supposed to work together in combination for alignment. Also, you mentioned in short game match class that you're supposed to use the leading edge for chipping compared to the bounce for pitching. But but the setup for both is toe down. How then do I engage the leading edge for chips?
Yeah. Okay.
Loaded.
This could be the entire sesh right here. Okay, so let's just describe the club first. And then, especially with this wedge, like a lot of the newer wedges are built with this like buffering here, which is awesome. This is the bounce right in here. This is the sole. So we have leading edge, sole, bounce. Now, every single club, like this one, says 8C. I don't even know what the C stands for, but the 8 is, it's saying that there's 8 degrees of bounce, which means that from the edge of the sole to the leading edge, that slope right here is 8 degrees. So as the club, if the club is standing straight up and down, we're still going to have the club sitting on the bounce right there where the sole and the bounce start to interact with one another. So even if you set the club up neutral, you're always going to have the club set up in a way where it's exposing the bounce. So when we're setting up for chips, we're talking about, especially if you're really looking to drive the golf ball, we're going to set the golf club up heavy toe. But what you've just done, even without rotating the shaft at all, you've moved the face so it's pointing right. Okay, so here's how this works. With every club, we have some amount of loft. So let's say that I have a club that's 90 degrees of loft. They don't make those, but let's say that I have a 90-degree golf club here. So the face is pointing straight in the air. Now, if I went toe down, okay, so here's 90 degrees. If I go toe down, where does the face start to point? Points to the right. If I go heel down, it starts to point to the left. So even if you have the leading edge perpendicular to the target, which seems like it would be square, and it is if it's sitting flush, meaning the toe and the heel are the same distance away from the ground, just sitting flush or soled to the ground. As soon as I start to go toe down, I'm opening the face more and more and more in that manner. You can even see here if I kept doing that, look, now the face is pointing towards the camera. If I had a 0-degree golf club, okay, this way, and I go toe down or heel down, all I'm doing is spinning that face, but it still points in the same direction. Now, again, there's no such thing as a 0-degree golf club. Even your putter has 2 to 4 degrees of loft, usually, maybe even more sometimes. So you're still going to have some amount of openness or closedness depending on heel bias or toe bias. Now, what's fun here with chipping, if I go heavy toe down, I need to now toe the golf club in. So I've actually spun the shaft to go this way. See that? Now it's square again. So the more toe down you go, the more toe in you need to have the golf club to have it actually square to the target. Now that's going to set up for a really flat golf ball. And a lot of questions that we get as coaches is like, okay, well, if you took all the loft off, why didn't you just use a pitching wedge instead? You can. However, if you sole the entire club on the ground, you've got that much surface area that you're contending with when interacting with the turf. If you toe it down, now all of a sudden that volume or that surface area shrinks dramatically, and it's so much easier to hit shots, just universal shots. Into the grain shots become way, way easier, because if you're just using the toe side of the golf club, now I can just drive that toe into the golf club, into the golf ball, and hit like a nice little knifey chip. You can see this, like there's so many like slow motion videos of like experts in chipping, like Jordan Spieth. This is how he hits that little knifey chip. This is how Scheffler hits that little knifey chip. They both chip the golf ball at incredibly high levels. Now that's for chipping. Now, so we're talking about toe bias and chipping. Toe bias and pitching, okay, and hopefully that makes sense. To finalize that, if I go toe down, toe in, now I'm really using the leading edge. I don't have bounce exposed, I have the leading edge exposed. That's chip shot. Bounce, if I go right in here, it's already set up for bounce. So even if I go 1 degree boop, up right here or toe down, which would actually make the golf club go flat, it would sit flat because the toe's down into the ground, I'm using the toe side bounce portion of the club. And what's super nice about this is every single pitcher of the golf ball that I've seen in my life that's like really worth a damn, they are still incredibly aggressive through the shot. There's this nice hit in that shot. They're not letting the club drop with gravity, or it's just this nice little like, it's not that. We see this like aggressiveness into the turf. And if you set it up with toe down, just the dynamic of the hit, If I run that toe into the ground and I'm fairly steep with that, it slows down the toe, the heel stays aggressive, and now I've got more loft, so even if I hit it slightly heavy there, I still have plenty of loft. I can still be like super crazy aggressive through the hit, and I'm using the bounce, which is a stupid term because it doesn't go gabunk. It glides. It gets into the turf and then it slides along the turf line. So it's more of a slider or a glider than a bounce. Again, golf terms, hilarious.
Marketing,
I don't know, you just name it something. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So anyways, like if I get it into the ground slightly ahead of the golf or slightly pre-golf ball, that face is going to stay open, gives me enough loft so I can still be aggressive. And so that's the real difference between these shots is with a pitch shot, we're using bounce, which typically we're either trying to hit a spinny shot or a higher trajectory shot. One of those two types of shots. A chip shot is a more aggressive looking ball that skid, might grab a little bit, but then runs like a putt. And this is just the dynamic of what happens to the golf ball based on how you're setting it up. So if you're doing that with throwing, having the golf club slightly open, what you're inevitably doing is you're throwing the golf club more and more towards 90 degrees. If I have a 90-degree golf club, let's just say it's 90, just for like the sake of this easy argument. The direction or the path is 100% indicative of where the golf ball is going to start off, as long as the lie angle is neutral. Now, I'm saying 1 degree. So I'm going from sold to this. It's hardly even noticeable. So if I have that face open here, and even if it catches the toe and keeps this going open, it's going to be about 70-ish degrees of loft into the golf ball there at a neutral state for a 60-degree golf club, because it holds that toe back and it'll work in here. So 70 degrees, 65 degrees, 90 degrees, all pretty darn close to that 90-degree look. So if I have a 90-degree golf club, wherever the path is, that's the direction that golf ball is going to go, as long as the club is relatively sold to the ground. Even if it's 1 degree, we want it 1 degree so that it slows down that toe and keeps loft on it. So it's all about where the path of the club is moving. This whole idea, the old school, was you open, like this was like big time in sand shots. If I'm here neutral and then I open the face, so now the grooves are perpendicular this way, so this looks like where the face is pointing, that you would just open your stance that same amount and then swing along that path. That makes no sense because I've got the grooves pointed here. If I've aligned here, I'm going to swing the golf club this way. Like, how am I going to get the face on the ball? I'm going to run the hosel right into it. That doesn't work. Like, if I open it up, and let's say that I have 80 degrees aloft, darn close to 90 degrees. Just watch where this golf ball starts off relative to the path. See how the path of the club looks like it's just at the target? So if I hit that shot, look at where that golf ball hits. It hit right here, the ball was right there. 80 degrees aloft, it's all dictated on the path. We want the path going dead towards the target. It might be 1 degree down, just barely. It's hardly even noticeable. You can notice this, now the face is pointing over here. But if I'm right here 1 degree down, just so that I can keep the loft, like see I'd grab the toe, keep the face open, so now I have loft. If I go heel down, it would grab the heel, the toe speeds up, and now I hit a drop kick. That's scary. Like that's how you frickin' rip it over the green. So you have to be perfect with heel down. Toe down in pitching allows you to be like a little, you can miss. You can hit it a little heavy, or you can just dead pure it, nip it perfect, and you're fine. But everything, when you have it at like 80 degrees aloft, even 60 degrees aloft, is so path indicative. So we're not trying to like set the face open like to the target, and then I'm open to the target as well here, and I'm trying to do this. Like the math doesn't math. Okay, so hopefully that makes general sense with what's going on down there at the bottom based on just how we're setting the club, and then that dynamic of what's happening with the interaction of the golf club, the ground, and the golf ball. Okay.
Lovely.
Lovely.
All right, we'll stay on wedge for a short bit. Jay Schwartz.
Jay Schwartz. What up, Jay?
concerning pitch and sand shots, some of the videos in the library advocate a forward rib shift as the club goes back, while others keep the upper body quiet as the club goes back. Can you please clarify exactly what I need to be practicing? Also, do you think the green golf shoes would help my game?
Okay, well, the second one, as long as they're the G4 green golf shoes, absolutely. I can't speak for any other green golf shoes, but I can tell you for certain I've got like 5 less strokes every time I throw them suckers on, man. Those are like statement shoes. You come to play when you throw those suckers on. Okay, so this question is actually, it's similar to a question that we get a lot in regard to dropping. Folks will go, do I drop like as the club's going up, or do I get to the top and then drop? Yes, you do either, okay? There's maybe preferences depending on what we're seeing in players, so we'll like push certain players into like a certain way of being based on their own tendencies. But when it comes to this, whatever you want to call it, sway in your dome, sway in your ribs towards the target, first things first, we're doing that because we want in the hit, like if I'm right here, see how my sternum's like right over the top of this golf ball? If I move my sternum back here, if I'm unloading the club, again, where does the golf club want to bottom out if I'm unloading it? Way back here. So what do I have to do to match that up? I've got to shove the handle up here, so now as it unloads, I've got half a chance. So we'll see players that go, run this, and this becomes their hit for chipping. Okay, this is also why we don't necessarily like open, like if my target's here and I'm open relative to the target, I have to extend my pelvis to block this down the line. I couldn't stay dropped and turn here, I'd hit it way left. So I'd rather players be square to slightly closed, like in those go-to pitches and go-to chips that we explain like in pretty dang great detail in that short game masterclass on X Factor. So if I'm right here, now I can turn and this all matches up relative to the target that I'm looking to hit at. So yay. But 2, if I move my sternum up here, I've got to unload the golf club fairly early in here to be able to get to that golf ball and make that arrangement make sense. So in other words, I couldn't like sway the ribs up and then shove the handle forward. I'm going to miss the golf ball by like a foot. It doesn't match. So when you're doing this, you can do it either way, but what I'd really love you to do is this, to get used to this in pitching and chipping and bunker shots as well. If I stand to it, golf ball's relatively underneath my trunk or my sternum at the start, I'd like players, just to gain awareness of this, to start at like 60 or 70% pressure on their trail foot and 40 or 30% pressure on their lead. So I'm definitely biased over here. You can see me like, there's my pressure. From here now, if I just swung it back and stayed here, what this allows me to do now is as I'm unloading the club, see this? And in like the short game masterclass, this is a UD unload. So in essence, I'm just taking the leading edge of the club and just running it straight down to the ground. And the map that I have from right in here is a lateral lunge forward. See this pressure here? Super easy to see where my rib cage is going. Super easy to see where my dome piece is going. So I'm 60, I'm back here. As I'm unloading in a UD manner, here's my lateral lunge, and look at this dynamic now working into the golf ball. You can super easily see this move lateral as I'm unloading. That's the matchup, that's the concept for chipping. Now, in some of the videos, we actually ask for players to move this lead arm across the chest as they feel like they're laterally lunging, so we almost get here early. And then in the video series, we talk about this axis, like my trunk is now going to be at like a 1 degree axis, maybe 2 degrees from my pelvis or my belt line to my sternum. This is now where we're going to spiral up, up this line here. So I can turn up this line. And why we want certain players to do this is as I go up and away, but still forward, I really have to unload this. And where we'll see almost every single short game player that's having difficulty is they'll over leverage the club in here. So see how this angle from lead arm to shaft becomes more acute? So it's overloaded here. And most people do that because they shove their pelvis forward, this rocks under, and then they shove this forward. This is what we'll see out of poor chippers and poor pitchers. So a lot of the mapping that we're explaining on the site is here. Now I almost want you to sense this unloads first and then you spiral up this trunk line. That's the map in player's mind. So if I do this slowly, I'm going here, unload, spiral up, see how that all matches here, and now I'm in this position through the strike. So that technique is for all pitch shots, all bunker shots, all distance wedges, that's the mapping. But the big key here is at no point does this get to rock back relative to the pelvis, ever. That's death move in short game.
Yeah, third
Question.
All right, let's get back into some full swing stuff.
I like the full swings.
Thomas.
And short game is fun.
Hey,
too.
Riley.
Oh. Hi, Thomas.
Hoping you can run through P6 and the idea of having the hands lower at this position.
P6 and having the hands lower. Like,
Yes.
I'm thinking he's asking how the hands lower.
Yes, I would assume so.
Okay.
Let's see if he responds.
Okay, so let's map this. So most of the time when I say lower something, what people immediately think about is they're going to lower relative to the ground. Okay, so if I had 10 people in front of me and I go, everybody swing it to the top, wow, and then I go, lower the grip. Always, I'm going to see this. I've never seen somebody go, okay, I got it, and lower the grip lowered. But what's actively lowering? The pelvis, right? So now that makes this lower. So why the grip can lower, the hands lower, it really you have two different options. One is based on you swinging it to the top and lowering the arms, lowering the hands. If we want to get specific, that's shoulder extension. See how the hands get low here. But the problem is relative to my body, these are lowering, so you'll always see players that lower here, extend in the hip complex through the hip to give themselves room to do that. Another way to lower is really two different ways. And I already described one, which is just me dropping here. But the main purpose of dropping is to acquaint my trunk to the golf ball. So I have this object down here that I want to hit. If I'm in standing posture, my ribs are right over the top of my pelvis relatively. So if I wanted to swing this golf club, or my arms even, perpendicular to my trunk, I would look like this. So this is a hitting action. This is our preference in hitting, really, if we're being honest. Like this right here is a pure AB and AD duction in the upper arms. Now this doesn't make any sense because of my trunk arrangement to the object that I want to hit. So what I need to do in transition is drop the pelvis, and now what you'll see my trunk do is it starts to teeter forward and it starts to point at the object that I would like to hit. So if I'm down here and I go boom, drop, there's my trunk. Now, perpendicular to my chest is right here. So if I abduct this lead arm, are the hands lowering relative to the ground? Yes. Are they lowering relative to my trunk? No. So it's a map. Okay, I still need to hit that thing, but I can go up here and then lower the hands, but I'm going to go that way to hit it. That's a way to hit one. But I could also go here, drop out of my chest, and that's a totally different hit. That is the definition in our structure. This is not, what's the damn book? The Golfing Machine. The golf machine, hitter versus swinger, they describe it in a different way than how we describe hitter versus swinger. We're just using words, okay? So name it whatever you want, Fred and John. I don't care, okay? But at the end of the day, a swinger pattern is a pattern where the upper arm glides along the rib cage and lowers, whereas a hitter pattern goes off the rib cage this way. Those are the two different distinctions. Like, and this is how you'll take a look at like guys like Min Woo, Victor Hovland, those kinds of athletes, Lucas Glover, they're all hitter patterns. And then you've got like the Adam Scotts, Schefflers, Nicklaus, like all those types of patterns. They're very different from one another when you're looking at the upper arms and the trunk and the pelvis. How that interaction happens is very different. The club might look like it moves through space in a similar way. It's not exactly the same, but it's easy in our game to get distracted by lines and where the club is, and we just neglect like, ooh, what's the pelvis doing? How are the femurs and the pelvis like interacting? what's the spine doing? What's the rib cage doing? We don't see that. But from face on, you'll see how like an Adam Scott or a Scheffler, see how this lead arm is like pinned on their chest, and a Min Woo looks like this. They're different. AB hit, shoulder extension hit. Very different patterns. Good question. Really good
Great question. All right. Kyle made a comment.
Kyle.
Try Peterson about your pipe. My mixture 965. Great tobacco.
Cheers to you, my friend. I'm trying to be, who is the freaking guy, the Dos Equis guy? The most interesting man in the world.
Yes.
That's the visual that I have that I'm trying to go for. I'm not going to get that. I'm not going to hit, there's no way. But I'm just trying things. Just bear with me. I'm going through a moment. It's just, I'm having a day.
We all go through it.
I'm living life, folks. Cheers.
All right. All right.
I didn't know where you're going with that. I was like, what are you talking about?
You're going back to the pipe.
Okay, perfect.
All right. John O'Neill. Mm-hmm. A lot of golfers say my backswing is too short. John Rahm, should this concern me? Any changes to the swing, timing-wise, to be concerned about?
I mean, I'd just tell him, go tell that to JB Holmes, tell that to John Rahm, tell that to Finau. But, I mean, at the end of the day, what we're always looking to do is just how that spiral line and how the arm line are interacting with one another, how they're communicating. If they communicate well and you can load the arm lines properly and the spiral line supports that really well, you can hit bombs that way. You can also hit bombs John Daly. So this would be cool actually, right? Like if I'm going bombers in history, JB Holmes led the tour for many years. Daly led the tour for many years. Did their swings look anything freaking alike? No, not at all. I mean, JB's finishing here and then John's finishing here. It's crazy different, massively different. So when you're looking at your swing, we're looking at it not from the standpoint of aesthetics, really. We're looking at just the marriage of movements so that you frickin' have precision, you got adequate speed, and it's generally reasonably healthy, then we're good. But you don't need to look a certain way necessarily. It just needs to be efficient for you, and that's the fun part of golf swings. From our perspective, it's so fun. Every new guy that comes in, it's okay, how can we help this person just map out concepts? And concepts are just this movement paired with this movement creates this, and now we have a concept. Golf instruction and golf in general is, it just drives me nuts sometimes. It just makes me want to barf because it's just put the club here. I can put it there 5 different ways, right? Could I turn and lift the arms? Or could I just keep my chest here and just slide this along and the club's in the exact same freaking spot? So we need concepts more, athletic concepts to help you feel right. Plus, that way of looking at things allows you to look at the golf swing in a dynamic action because this movement paired with this movement creates a concept that's dynamic instead of put it here at 43 degrees. What sport does that? Imagine John Elway trying to throw a football that way, right? The angle and the right, are you freaking kidding me? It's all dynamics. We want bounce. It's going to make you feel freaking better. So I think one of the things that I'd like you to do, if you're on X Factor, post your video so I can see it, and then we're very good at seeing concepts, guys. If I see your swing, immediately takes one swing and I can see what's going on. We've got our lowest hanging fruit. And that's the fun thing about X Factor is you get unlimited swing analysis with me. And I'm the only one right now doing the swing analysis. But as soon as we get more subscribers on there, of course, we're going to have our entire team help. But that's when we made the site, it came from a space where this site's actually going to help people rather than just, here's a whole bunch of information, here's your education. It's what the hell do I do with this now? How do you apply it? Yeah, see you later. We want you to take that learning, attempt to apply it to your game, but don't you need feedback? That's the coolest thing about the community is you post your video right there. And I'm gonna send you another video of me explaining concepts to you so that, you know, maybe we do need more rotation for you. What was this gentleman's name? John? Is that his name?
Yes, John.
Yeah. So John, for you, we might need to see more rotation. We might need to like allocate that from somewhere else. I don't know your build. I don't know your age. I don't know anything other than my backswing short. Well, why is it short? Is it effective short? Is it ineffective short? Just like, oh, chicken wings bad. No, tell that to frickin' Jordan Spieth.
Jake.
Concepts. That's at the end of the day, that's what it's all about.
On that X Factor, Casey was asking, is there a way to find the post I uploaded in the past in the community section to look back into the older posts without scrolling down forever?
Ugh, I'm not tech. That's a great question. Why don't we save that and we'll send it over, and then Casey will get back to you. One of our experts at X Factor that runs the back end of things will get back to you there. I'm a golf coach. I don't know these things.
There's a reason why I'm behind the computer and Riley's in front of the camera.
Oh, man. So, yeah, we'll get back to you on that, but I'm sure there's a way, and I would imagine that you could just search on there. I think you can search for your own personal like name and find like just videos with you. I think there's a way, but we'll get back to you and make that more clear.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, you're going to like this one. Patrick. Hi, I recall.
What up, Patrick? Let's go, Patrick.
Let's go. I recall you describing the pelvis as a support move, or as a support that moves back as the upper body moves forward. Doesn't this create a disconnect between the thoracic and lumbar spine? How is it a healthy movement?
Oh, great question. So the health in spine. Ooh, I love this question. Now, I'll lead this with, I am not a doctor. So there's more to this for sure. And one of the things that we just know is there's so much in regard to like predisposition, your genetics. I mean, there's so much that goes into injury. However, you're either leaning the needle in favor of injury or injury prevention in movement. And we know this stuff like way more now than we used to, which is really cool. Science is neat. So spine issues in golf. You are going to be hard pressed to find somebody that has spine injury in the thoracic or the cervical spine. Now, are they out there? Absolutely. Most of the time where that comes from is inappropriate shoulder movement that then leaks into like areas of the spine, and we have issues there. So it's not necessarily a spine movement, it's a shoulder movement. Like when you're looking at like Scheffler last year in the Masters, you see him all KT taped up in his neck. So immediately like Scheffler does is he shoves this up here, this all rotates back, and the way that he creates face stability is a massive scap retraction action. So I have this tissue moving rapidly forward and left, while this tissue has to peel back to keep the golf club slotted. That's the matchup. That's a concept. Now, can you hit good shots that way?
Yeah.
I think Scotty's pretty good.
He's all right.
Frickin' hits dimes like arrows, crazy arrows, right? But then we got issues from a health perspective. So it's always this way, right? Like, I mean, honestly, if I were coaching Scotty, we're probably not changing stuff. I'd also love to ask him, like in that situation, obviously he's got his lifelong coach, so don't insinuate anything. This is just a conversation here. Like, how much is he actually hurting? How much can his off the course training help like kind of alleviate some of that? I mean, LeBron spends what, $3 million a year on his training. Mm-hmm. So like, okay, can Scotty do that? Probably, and give himself more longevity that way. Point is it's not necessarily a great tactic if you're looking at preventative medicine. Preventative medicine is we're going to move in a really healthy way. We would eat really well. So that it gives you more longevity from that standpoint. So the question is like, hey, doesn't this hurt your back? And we see this a lot. Like, I mean, you go through our gram and you watch some of the stuff, like when I post or any of us post, like, here's our preference in movement. And people are like, oh my gosh, my back. Number one, people look at hip flexion as lateral bend, and it's not. So if I'm in flexion here, you can see where my trunk is, and like just in general where my spine is pointing, right? It tilts. Look at my trunk line. And so if I turn here, they go, oh, ow. It's not ow. It's this staying back as I turn. That's number one. That elongates your spine, gives yourself more space in general, like between vertebrae, all that, like your spine's elongating. The tissue stays separated and away. There's not this like condensed issue in a certain like region of your back or your spine. And when you go hyper condensed with a lot of activity there, what you end up doing is you cause cellular damage. That creates inflammation. Now we have nerve problems potentially. You can also shoot discs that way. There's a lot of things that can happen there that cause problems. Facet joint problems, all kinds of stuff. All in that one region, lower back. Okay, now if I do this, all that separates. Even if you put your hands back here and you drop, you'll feel all your tissue go, it elongates. Now, where lower back or back issues happen or occur most of the time is L-spine. Now, what we're doing, like with Zalatoris, this Bracky helped me tremendously with like what happened with Zalatoris. What Zalatoris does, or did, when he's trying to alleviate it, we think, is he'll rotate the pelvis. Pelvis shoves way up here, okay? And as this pelvis shoves this way, what you create is like hyperextension of the lumbar spine. And if you look up lumbar lordosis, what happens is you'll see the vertebrae almost separate this way with one another because you're creating this like bigger, larger curvature and extension here. So as I do this, just see the curve of the L-spine. Okay, and this is like where he gets right before the hit. How he shoots energy out is this comes back into him because as the scaps or as the arms fire, it creates scap protraction, and that creates flexion of the spine. And what happened with Zalatoris is we got this massive extension state in the L-spine and then rapid flexion. Zalatoris hits 300 balls a day. So when you have massive extension to massive flexion, you're going to run into problems. And so that's all from over rotation and inappropriate rotation of the pelvis. And EE, early extension, is just me rotating the pelvis out and around this way, which is a response to the direction of movement and force in the arms. If I lower here, but I'm also going to rotate obviously in the pelvis, so this rotates here, big time EE, big time extension here as the arms lower. Now I'm going to go whoom to hit. There's the issue. Now, we're going to probably take the rest of the time on this.
I figured.
This is
that's why I saved it for last.
Okay, so when we're looking at this, like just how we're made as people, you have three different rib types. You have floating ribs, you have lower ribs, you have upper ribs. And a lot of the upper ribs you can't even touch because they're like up in here. Hard to touch them, like, okay, right underneath the clavicle, we got ribs. The upper ribs are designed to be able to flex and elongate, flex and extend. Okay, so they're like an accordion. So if these like shrink, the space shrinks over here, this space it elongates and separates over here. Upper ribs. Lower ribs aren't designed that way. They don't do much of that. Just how they attach themselves together into like xiphoid, your sternum, like all that, boom, just hunkered in tight in here, okay? So upper ribs, if they're designed this way to go what's that gonna do to the spine? There's our lateral bend. There's our lateral bend. So it's above the breast line even. It's from mid-breast to clavicle is really where we're gonna experience a lot of that rib activity, and you're gonna feel it in the ribs. So when you're thinking lateral bend, most people think of lateral bend as this. Where's my pivot point right now? L-spine. L-spine lateral bend as I'm turning, extending, wham. So all of the lower spine is taking all that brunt of rotation, extension, flexion, lateral bend. It's not designed to do all that. It's designed to go into small amounts of extension and flexion, not rotation, not laterals. It's not designed to do that. So when you force all of that down in here because of inappropriate pelvic movement, you lean the needle in favor of injury. So when we're looking at laterals, it's in here. Now, from this perspective, Look here. Look here. Where's the lateral bend? All up in here, right in between the scaps, might even creep up into the neck, into the C-spine. And look, at the end of the day, somebody goes, Riley, I go, what? That's healthy. You can frickin' do this. It's designed way more range of motion to rotate. It's designed more rotate or more extension flexion, more rotation, more laterals. It's designed to do that. As you go down that tree trunk, limited movement just in general. So if you're doing all the rotation here, you're leaning that needle in favor of injury. So for forever, rotate the hips, post up on the left side. What does that make people intuitively do? I'm going to rotate the pelvis here, EE, get to my left side, lateral sway in the pelvis. Now, if I do that, doesn't the club want to go over unless I rapidly lower to get that slotted, and I have to take this tissue and rotate it in opposition of the rotation of the pelvis. Just intuitively, if I have this tissue rotating hard that way, this tissue rotating against that, aren't I just fraying tissue? And at some point, doesn't all of that just go boom in a certain region? Like all of it compresses in that region over and over and over again. Bang, bang, bang. Cellular damage, inflammation, pain, problems. Okay, so when we're looking at this, like the map is more, I'm dropping, again, proper drop. If I'm in a squat rack and I go, that elongates the spine, that action. This shrinks spine, this elongates spine. This up here where we feel it in the upper ribs, whoosh, whoosh, there's spiral tissue. See this look? This tractor pulls away from this. See how this leads? Upper ribs. See how it's taking the initial? Boom. So if I do that, look at this portion of my spine. See how stable? Boom. If I turn, drop, see how stable? Now even if I we call this pelvic swivel. So if I go here, where is the bend happening? Up in here. See, this is the pivot now. Look down here. Look at this portion of my spine. So if I go here, drop, swivel, swivel. Here's the pivot point. Boom. T-spine, C-spine takes all that bend. That's why we prefer this map. Is it the only way to hit good shots? Freaking no. No. You can hit great shots in so many different ways. But we are crazy lucky. Crazy lucky because we get to work with golf psychos. Like hitting hundreds of balls. I had a student the other day touch me and goes, Riley, you'd be so proud of me. I hit 268 7-irons today. The other day, I get another guy, Mike Paul, you're a G. He frickin' goes, he's out in the rain in San Francisco, goes, who's your favorite student? Who works harder than me? This is like every student that I am fortunate enough to work with. I get those people that come and work with us. Like, how freaking cool is that? So if I go, hey, here's a way of movement, and it leans the needle in favor of injury, I mean, is there any greater disservice than that? Because these people want to hit golf balls and play golf until they're 85. We injure them at younger years, and they can't go experience the thing that they might love most in life, the craft and the hobby that they love most. This is why we coach in the ways that we do, and it's freaking why we have preferences. Like if Scotty or Zalatoris weren't ever going to get injured, we'd prefer that too. That'd be fine. But again, it just leans that needle in favor of injury. It's not 100%, but why would you do that to yourself? If you're building your golf swing, why would you give yourself that opportunity? You love this damn game. Go hit 270 frickin' golf balls a day. You're not going to hurt yourself within that preference. And look, if we study this and it morphs a bit where we're like, ooh, that's actually going to cause injury, has more of a chance of injury, we will absolutely tweak our system. But for right now, this is what we have learned is the safest, easiest way to distribute energy throughout the entire course of your body through these awesome freaking fascial lines. It's the coolest thing ever. And again, massive kudos to one of my mentors, Luke Brackey, who definitely opened the door to me to be able to see this, as well as guys like Kelvin Miyahira, Quan, like all these dynamic freaking G's that just see things in a dynamic way that help people play better golf. But my gosh, guys, just it's healthy. It's a healthier way of moving. Okay, so hopefully that answers that question. And it's not that like it's 100% or 100%. It's not that. Injury and how we're built as humans it's super interesting because every single person is a little different than the other. But just like understanding this stuff, you'll come to better and why, how that's going to help me hit better shots with speed and in a healthy way. Okay, fun day. Super fun day. Guys, keep asking questions. These questions are great. And if you're on X Factor, I mean, ideally what we have is every single member of X Factor submits their videos so that we can help you with your game. And I get it, like some guys want to get on there and post one, you know, every couple of weeks or so. And so it's pretty regular when we're providing swing analyses for those folks. Others might get a swing analysis and chew on that for months and then submit another one. But if you're on X Factor, please submit your swings so that myself and the rest of our coaching staff and coaching team, our family can help you play better golf. That's the reason this thing was designed, so you can get on there, receive a great education, but also an awesome opportunity to apply those teachings so that you go play better golf. So thanks, guys. Have a wonderful week. Can't wait to see you next week and hit some mother flipping flush nuggets for us. See you guys soon.
Adios.
Adios.